Hello, everyone. This is Star Zenith 33, Laura Francesca here, doing the night hour of the podcast here at the Astroweather Celestial Clockwork. And so I'm talking a little bit low here on my microphone because it is late hours, of course, and I'm not, trying to disturb the peace. I decided to jump in here because I think it's very important to talk about the astro weather right now, about what is going on. Because I looked at the chart and I was like, oh my gosh, the moon is creating a lot of havoc right now with the sun, with Mercury, with Jupiter, and luckily not with Pluto. It's getting along with Pluto, but anyway, it's something to talk about. I'm not going to do a full hour on here. But I'm going to do about half an hour, okay? And just explain a little bit what's going on, and that way, we can be more informed, okay? See you there. Welcome back to the Astro Weather here with Laura Francesca. And so, I was looking at the chart here, and I was, just looking at the moon. Okay, bear with me here. Okay, I'm being my authentic self here. Okay, and something happened, a little minor situation happened with, I was having this anxiety. I don't know why. So I'm just getting off of it. Okay. I'm feeling pretty good now. I'm feeling like really good. I actually have my grounding mat under me, and I'm just being my vulnerable self. Okay. Because this is not about perfection. This is how we relate to other people when we're our authentic self, and this is not about promoting, not even like mental illness or nothing like that. You need to understand that we are going through some energies right now, okay, that are very potent, okay, that our minds cannot handle, okay? And I'm not even vaxxed, okay? I did not get vaxxed. And imagine if I did. I probably would be having way more anxiety problems, right? And so I have this grounding mat underneath my desk right now, and my feet is barefoot on top of it. And so it's right now, it's getting grounded and so forth. And I love it because you can't even feel it. You can't feel nothing. You just put your feet on it and it grounds your feet all the way to your brain. I have that, and I also have an exercise plate that I've been talking about as well that shakes all of your body, which is also very powerful, right? And I do 10 minutes. I actually should be doing more than 10 minutes, but I try to find the time to do it. Sometimes I'll just look at the plate and it's like, work me out, and because when your whole body shakes, it's also very beneficial when it comes to health and having a healthy body. But so I have many options. I can hop on the plate. I can hop on the grounding mat that I have right now. I actually took 5-HTP. I'm not being promoted by any brand with 5-HTP. If you guys have heard of it, it's over the counter. Okay, it's over the counter. And I think it comes in powder form as well. I'm not too sure, but I take it in pill form. And you can find it at any like Whole Foods or Sprouts or supermarket. And I don't think they have it at supermarkets unless it's an organic supermarket. But you can find it online. You can find it. It's everywhere in Amazon and TikTok and everywhere. So in health food stores and all that. But so it's called 5-HTP. Okay, and how it works is you just take either powder form or pill form, and you take it and it affects your brain where if you had anxiety, it just nips it in the bud. It takes it out. And I have forgotten because I haven't not been taking it. Okay. because I take a juice that already contains the 5-HTP, right? But I take that early in the morning so it can give me energy and so forth. And so by the time nighttime hits, it's already winding down. But I don't know what was going on, okay, that I was feeling a little bit like, I just like irritable, and I was having anxiety, and I don't really get anxiety. I just don't. So I don't know where it was coming from. And I usually like to be optimist. If I'm feeling out of sorts, I'll go for a walk. I'll go to the ocean, or to the waterfront or something. And I will come up with something. Okay. But I don't know what it was. And then I just started getting really tired. My body was getting really, really tired. And I said, I'm going to take a rest. And because I was fighting my body, where my body wanted to rest, and I was like, no, I have a lot of things to do. and and it was like, no, rest. So I was fighting my body with not wanting to rest, and I know that I should be listening to my body, right? If the body wants to rest, you got to give it that rest, right? And so I just said, okay, and I don't know what happened, that I just hopped on my bed, and I was just there, like, just relaxing, I guess, and I just knocked out. My body knocked out. And then it turns out that I had a dream, and maybe God said, rest because I have a dream for you. And I had a dream that I entered a mansion, kind of beach home. And I say mansion because it was pretty big. It was not a normal beach home. It was pretty spacious, and it was pretty big, and it was all white. There was no furniture. There was a lot of rooms, and I was entering in different rooms, and it was mine. They gave me the keys, and I was walking through every room. I was happy, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is mine." And I was going through each and every room, and I couldn't see the person that gave me the keys or nothing. I just knew I had the keys in my hand. And I was just walking through every room. I was like, oh my gosh, things are going to be so different now. And this is change. I've been wanting for this change, for a long time. And so it is here now, and God is good and all this. And I was so happy, right? And then I woke up. And I was like, what was that? That was crazy. And then I looked in my dream book, and it said, in my Spanish dream book, and it said, if you dream that you have a house, if it's like a mansion or like a really big house, um, then that means that you're going to be honored in some sort of way. I don't know how, like, it's all in God's hands. I'm not pushing anything. I'm not trying to pressure anything or nothing like that. Um, but it's interesting, and if it belongs to somebody else, if it's somebody else's mansion and you enter in a dream, it just means like you're using people, to feel good about yourself, or you're connecting with people just based out of interest because they have money, or they have mansions and the lifestyle and everything. I mean, it's good to have friends like that, but it's about entering your mansion, not theirs. And I guess that was the meaning that I took. And then it ends with a numerology as well, and it was a number 6. So the number 6 has to do with family, with caretaking. I am a 6 as well. I'm a 33-6. And it has to do with ancestry. It has to do with love. It has to do with caretaking. Um, like being there for the family. Like it could be 6 houses when it comes to real estate. They're good because these are the houses when there's reunions. There's a lot of reunions in 6 houses. There is a lot of love and families getting together. There might be some caretaking as well. You're the head of household, and you got to take care of maybe children or your parents or something like that, or pets, anything like that. And so it's a very balanced type of number. And when you live in a 6, you don't there's not really much problems inside your home. It's very balanced. And so and that's what I like about 6. So it ended with the number 6. So I might have to look at some houses that maybe have a six on it, and I'll know that's the beach house or that's the house or something. But anyway, it was a beautiful dream, and sometimes, we got to take a little bit of rest on our bodies because God has a message for us, through dreams or anything like that. I don't know why I'm dreaming a lot. And well, I do know why. Because, Aries is in Neptune right now. Neptune has to do with dreams. And so I do have it in the 12th house, and it has to do with the subconscious. It has to do with dreams. It has to do what's hidden, what's not in plain sight. It also has to do with like hidden wealth and, you know, just things that you cannot see, things that are invisible. So that's where I have Aries in Neptune and in Saturn. But and maybe that's why, I might feel a little bit also out of sorts as well, because especially right now, when the moon right now that is in Libra, it's affecting my 12th house in Aries, right? And Saturn and in Neptune. And so I'm not surprised why I had that dream, right? But the 12th house is about taking a break. It is about working behind the scenes. It is about being invisible, being a little bit more quiet, and so forth. Taking a break, going on vacation, all of that. And so I'm not surprised why I had that dream, but I'm not surprised why, my brain might be a little bit affected with some sort of anxiety, right? Um, and it's about being around the good people, being around good people, balancing my life. And this is why I'm using my mat. And that's why I purchased it as well, because it helps to regulate the body, to balance the body. And it works so, so good. So, right now, I do want to say, if you are going through anxiety, um, if you are a Libra, if you are Aries, if you're a Capricorn, or you have those in your natal chart, in your birth chart, or any type of chart, it could be your solar chart as well, um, know that it's going to affect you in some kind of way. So I was so happy that as soon as I took my 5-HTP pill, it went boom and knocked it out. And now I feel really good. And I'm like, if I didn't really feel good, I wouldn't have not jumped on the podcast. But now I'm feeling really, really good. I'm feeling like on cloud nine. I am. And I was not feeling like that. And it wasn't like major anxiety. It was just, I just felt weird. It did not feel like me. And either I was getting attacked or something, because people can project onto you. They could project like anxiety. Um, there's a lot of that going on, of like siphoning energy, and like they don't want to have a certain energy. So what they do is, and this is all like evil stuff, okay? Because you should never be doing that. That's karmic. Okay, that's gonna come and bite you in the ass when you try to project your energy onto somebody else and give it to them, so you won't have it and you won't be held accountable. What are you doing? Do you think that God is not watching that? You cannot be doing that. You got to be proud of your own energy. And if you have problems with your own energy, as far as anxiety or anything, you got to work that out. You got to go get therapy, right? Get yourself an astrology reading to see why and how it's affecting you, and why it's affecting you, right? And take the precautious responsibility to fix that, right? You just can't be projecting onto other people, innocent bystanders that don't know what the heck is going on. I mean, luckily I'm an astrologer, right? So I know what is going on. I know when people are projecting on me, I know, okay? And I'm not dumb. I could feel it in my body as well. I'm somebody that's very empath. So I feel a lot, okay? When people are projecting towards me, I feel it in my body. Like sometimes, like if I have a scratchy head, or I also get a lot of messages, through my ear. But if I'm starting to feel scratchy, like itchy, like my skin starts feeling itchy or something, Like I just feel the energy, okay? Um, and I just know that it's not healthy in where I am if I'm all of a sudden getting itchy, you know? And it's just things like that that I'm just very intuitive and I pick up. I'm like a sponge and I pick up energy really fast. This is why I always have to protect myself, right? And I take sea salt baths and all of that. And but 5-HTP has been really good for me as far as nipping in the bud and getting rid of any anxiety because it works with your brain and it regulates your nervous system. Okay, and that's I'm just like, as long as it does that, I'm good, you know. And it didn't even take more than 5 minutes. As soon as I took it with a milkshake that I did, a really yummy milkshake, vanilla milkshake, and with ice and stuff. And it was not even more than 5 minutes, and then my brain was feeling really good, you know. And I was like, wow. And I hadn't took 5-HTP for a long time, pill form. And so I kind of, maybe I had to take a break because I was on it before. I actually was taking it to lose weight because it also helps you to lose weight. It curbs your appetite. So I was taking it only for that, and I found that out through a fitness influencer. So she was taking 5-HTP. She was taking a cocktail of it. She was taking 5-HTP, and then she was taking like chromium picolinate, which helps with the fat in the body. And she, you know, she had a really good body, right? So obviously she knew what she was talking about. So she was taking this cocktail, and she said, "Yeah, you know, it curbs your appetite if in case if you eat a lot of sweets or anything like that." So that's why I started taking it. But then I found out other benefits it had, and I was like, "Whoa," you know. And so now, you know, I take it more for the nervous system because I am going through the 12th house transit. Also, as a Pisces, all Pisces, okay, we're all going through the 12th house in Pluto. So that's very important in Pluto because Pluto is about transformation. It is about doing deep dives. It is about, you know, it is the planet of wealth, but it's also the planet of transformation. Okay, where we have to transform. It will transform our mind, and that's biblical too. You know, so you know that's what it for us Pisces is in the 12th house of what's hidden, you know, what we need to work, doing these deep dives and understanding, you know, human psychology and why we are thinking this way and so forth. And like I said, we are not born to go through these energies that we are going through right now. Okay. We're going through historical energies. We're talking about the Civil War. We're talking about the French Revolution. I mean, we are talking about these war cycles that have returned in today's era, and we don't know how to function, okay? And the best thing I can say is that, you know, because, you know, astrology is all about cycles. You know, they return, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same because in today's world, we have AI, we have ChatGPT, Claude, you know, we have all these, and it's very beneficial in today's world because back in their days, they didn't have that. So we can use that and optimize that in our business and make money, and we have that advantage, right? And they didn't have that back in their days, right? But the energies are similar, okay? So they're very potent, and we've never had a Uranus trine Pluto, you know? And well, actually, I believe we had it in we had it in Earth. We haven't had it in air, but we had it when Uranus was in Taurus. It did trine Pluto in Capricorn. It was in Earth, right? It was very earthy, very much about billionaires, the elites, and so forth. You know, big wealth with real estate and so forth. And that cycle is over. Okay, that also ruled the Industrial Revolution, and Okay, so sorry, I had a little minor interruption there. This is why I can't really talk late at night because they hear noise and they're like, "Who is you talking to?" Um, so so what I was talking about, the Industrial Revolution, where that is over, and this is why a lot of these difficult jobs, like they're just not trending anymore, and they might go away, because the Industrial Revolution has really gone away, and we're more into AI and working from home and so forth. Um, and so now we have it in air. So right now we have a Uranus trine Pluto in air, and we've never had it. So in air, I would say it's a little bit more potent because this has to do with the brain. This has to do with information. This has to do with the communication. And we never had it. Okay. So I feel it's more elevated because we're talking about Gemini, and Uranus is already potent, and Aquarius and Pluto, it's already potent and a lot about communication. And a lot of us will not be able to handle it, you know. And so we need to be grounded, invest in a grounding mat, I actually bought one for my brother on his birthday because he's a Gemini, and 11/11 right now. And I bought one for his birthday because I feel that, he could benefit out of it because, he could be a little bit all over the place, and um, and, he's a busy person too. And so, I want him to be grounded, right? And so it's really helpful for that. And I sometimes let my mom get on the mat. I don't let her, but it's not like she doesn't really like to hop on it that much. But so I have to convince her a little bit, like it's for your own good. Just put your feet on there, And it does balances her. It does. It really does. But these energies that we're having, we don't know how to function. Okay, so it's okay if you're having some mild anxiety. It's okay. It's normal because, like I said, we don't know how to function during these times. We've never had them, you know? And this is all new to all of us, these revolutionary times of the French Revolution, of the Civil War. Like, we don't know what it was like. We could read a book about it. We could see a video about it. And it looks like there was a lot of wars. There was a lot of gunfight. There was a lot of lies too, because the Civil War, it was like during Neptune and Aries, and um, I mean, I know because in my hometown, they even opened it's very Civil War. My hometown where I come from, back in the days of the Civil War, it's very military, and they opened up a facility where they store guns and everything just in case the war broke out, because they were saying the war is going to break out, the war is going to break out. It turned out that it didn't break out, but they were prepared. They had soldiers, and now it's like a whole museum. It's like um, a fort museum. It's called Drum Barracks, and so there was a lot of, it's haunted. And that's why I don't go in there. But I hear a lot of stories that people have entered is very haunted, and they could hear like the soldiers, the chains, and all of that. Really fascinating. But it goes dating back all the way to the Civil War days. So in my hometown, it's very big. So it's a return, like in my hometown. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some probably dead soldiers walking around through there. Those are the things that can happen, just similar energies. So, if you do feel a little bit anxiety, disconnect from social media. It's okay. It's normal. You're not going crazy. Okay. We just cannot adapt to these energies, and we might have to adapt to them because this is where we are. This is reality. This is what we are facing. This is what we are going through. This is what the whole collective is going through. Okay. And we don't know how to function in these days. We can't go back to the past. We don't know what it's like anymore, you know, when prior to the COVID, right? a lot of us can't remember what was it like, or we want to go back to those days and we can't, right? So we just got to move forward and to set these cycles that we're under, but also protect yourself. It doesn't mean that you got to really adapt to it, right? What can you do, to help your brain, to regulate your nervous system? There's many things that you could do. Go for a brisk walk, disconnect from social media. I mean, we do need social media to connect with other people, but, if it's too much, then you got to disconnect, right? And, take baths and regulate yourself and go to the spa, give me your massages, go get your feet done, whatever it is, that's going to make you feel good. Maybe travel if you have the ability to travel, it doesn't have to be far because there's going to be war anywhere you travel anyway. So this is why it's good also to know astrocartography or get a reading with astrocartography. So you'll know the location you're going that is safe to travel there, because that's where we're at now, And if you do want a reading, you can go to www.starzenith33.com and check out the readings there. But this podcast, this episode here, it was to talk about the moon in Libra. Okay, so the moon in Libra, it's let me refresh it here. Let's see here. Okay, so the moon in Libra is at 17 degrees of Leo right now. So we might be feeling a little bit fiery, okay? I know I am. I'm like sweating, okay? I'm sweating a little bit, not a lot though. And I don't have my AC because I don't want the noise to be hearing from the background. So the moon right now is in Libra, and it is well, it's interesting because it's conjuncting Pandora's box. Okay, so there's something that's going to be discovered here with the moon in Libra. Pandora's box is at 14 degrees. Pandora's box is literally Pandora's box. Okay, dun 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 dun. Right. What have you found in that treasure chest? Right. Especially it's at 14 degrees of banks and money and wealth, and it's coming together with the moon in Libra. They're both in Libra, and which is so interesting. I was talking about the French Revolution because it's coming together with the asteroid of French, just France, okay? And where the moon is in the sign of Libra as well, okay? And where the moon in Libra is, it's in the 8th house of transformation. So there's some sort of transformation that is happening, and the motto there is "we have." Okay, so it has to do here with self-discovery. It has to do with hidden assets. It has to do with legacies and trusts and wills and taxes, insurances, inheritance. Okay, all of that. Any contracts that you have to sign, any joint finances that you have with partners and companies and so forth. In the sign of Libra, at a degree of Leo. Okay, so it has to do with celebrities, it has to do with leaders, and it's in the 8th house of payouts. Okay, I wanted to talk about also the how the moon. Where did it go? The moon. Okay, I did talk about that. Yeah, the moon is, I don't know why it's not. Let's see here. Okay, I'm back. So the moon is opposing Saturn in Aries, okay? And where we have Saturn in Aries is in the 2nd house of money, of wealth, of assets, of real estate, of food. And as a matter of fact, I heard the download of food, okay? And I think it's when I was talking about, I think something about the mansion or something of the dream that I had. And then, the download that came down was food. Okay, so there could probably be a scarcity of food. There probably, I would hope not, because the past does not have to repeat. and that's a wonderful thing about astrology, that it does not have to repeat, right? But we can trace similar energies that happened in the past. So I would hope that maybe they lower the prices with the food, because this is about unity, especially with Aquarius and Pluto. Aquarius and Pluto is very humanitarian. It is about helping others. It is about, you having the finances to help other people that are less fortunate, that don't have that, right? For instance, it would be like, let's say you're an owner of a supermarket, and you have the ability to lower the prices to help a community so they won't starve, just an example, right? But there could be a lot of changes also happening. If that does not happen, there might be a lot of people that might have to grow their own food. You know, they might have to grow their own food in their gardens, or share. There are some gardens where they grow vegetables and so forth, and you can go there. Like if it was a supermarket, and you can go there, or that's what they did back in the days. They used to share the garden, and they used to plant like carrots and tomatoes and strawberries and everything, and they would just go in there and get a basket, and whatever was available, right? I think you probably would give a donation or something, but maybe if you didn't have anything, if it was real scarce, then they said pick whatever you want, whatever's available. And it was about sharing the food with others. It also, what's happening in Los Angeles, where um, you could have, you can cook in your own kitchen, right? I think Gavin Newsom did this law in Los Angeles, where you can cook food in your kitchen and invite other people, to come and eat out of your kitchen, but it's like your restaurant. And you could charge for the food, but they could eat inside your home, right? And it's like strangers eating with strangers. But see, that's what happens in Mexico. Okay, that's very traditional. That's what happens in Mexico. And when I used to visit my cousins, I remember we used to do that. And there was this one place where they sold flautas, which are like taquitos. They were so yummy, so good. And I remember there was a neighbor that that lady sold taquitos, like they're called flautas, right? With some sauce on top of it and sour cream and everything. Oh my God, I still remember. They were so good. And they were so cheap, and especially because, well, I remember my dad gave me money because American money was back in those days. It was worth a lot. So I think he gave me like $5, and I think with $5 you go order like 50 taquitos. It was like crazy. Like, oh my God, what are we gonna do with so many taquitos? But me and my cousins, we sat in the table with other strangers. And we were eating there, and we were talking to them and getting to know them. It's like networking, and we didn't even know who they were. And then they introduced me as, my cousin introduced me as being her cousin from the other side, meaning from the United States. And they're like, "Oh, you're visiting here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I came to visit my nana and my cousins and so forth, and my tata too, which is my grandfather. We call him tata." And they're like, "Oh, that's nice. Oh, nice to meet you," and just like very friendly and everything. And that's how we communicated. That's how we network. That's how we. And eating in the same table. So it's interesting how they started doing that in Los Angeles, right? Where, you share the food, but it's not really free. You do have to pay to eat at somebody's house. And so it's interesting. It brought me memories of that. But we're going to start seeing a lot of those things happening, or just going to farmers markets if they don't lower the prices. Sometimes, at farmers markets, you can bargain with them as well. Sometimes if they're like closing or something, they're like, just take the next bag, take 2 bags, I'll give it to you for free or something. And I remember I went to let me drink some here. I don't know why I was my throat was a little bit I, you know what? I don't even have my water with me. That's why. Anyway, so I went to a farmer's market in Palos Verdes and they had flowers and I bought some flowers and they gave me an extra bouquet of flowers. I was like, oh, you didn't have to, like, oh, no, it's okay, because we're closing up already. So, so they gave me two bouquets for the price of one. So it's things like that that you can bargain. I was not even bargaining. They just gave me a free bouquet. And it's things like that in the farmers markets where, they can help people and so forth. But I see that happening if they don't lower the prices at supermarkets. And so I do feel that they will. I do feel. But, these are some options that people can do, instead if the prices get too high. Okay. So with the moon that it's opposing Saturn in Aries, with has to do with assets and money, at 13 degrees, okay, of a new beginning. Okay, when it comes to Saturn, there's an opposition there. Okay, so it has to do with something with payouts, justice, balance, and some sort of control over here with Saturn in Aries that has to do with leadership. And it's so interesting that today, what is it? Clive Davis. Um, I think he was a manager or something in Hollywood, and he managed a lot of celebrities like Justin Bieber and just really, um, just big people. I don't know why I'm hearing Diana Ross. Why is it coming down? I don't know. Is she still alive or dead? I don't even know. But I don't know why Diana Ross is coming through. And so, he passed away today, which is so interesting at the 13th degree of Saturn in Aries, and he was in Aries. So that's something interesting there. Um, and there's something about justice with the moon in Libra, um, some fairness and some balance, as it opposes this Saturn in Aries that has to do with leaders, with big money. Let's see, what else do we have here? The moon, let's see. We don't want to talk about that one. The moon is getting along with abundancia, okay? So abundancia is is really good because it's about abundance, so it's getting along very well when it comes to abundancia in the sign of Gemini. So, right now, the moon is getting along with all air signs, which is like Gemini and Aquarius. So that's good. It's just that, let me see where we have, I don't see this one here. It's not getting along with Saturn. It's not getting along with Pallas Athena either. Pallas Athena is an asteroid of strategy in the sign of Aries and at a degree of ancestry. So it's opposing that as well. And, we do have this important asteroid. I don't really try, I try not to talk too much about it because I don't like to worry people. But it is an asteroid of rest and peace, okay, in the sign of Aries. And, Clive Davis, he was in Aries, okay? So it conjunct here with Saturn. So what this tells me is that somebody old um, in the entertainment field was going to pass away, okay? Because where the rest in peace asteroid is in the sign of Aries, it's at 12 degrees of celebrities, okay? So if you are a celebrity and you're in Aries, I would just, pay more attention and be more cautious, because these asteroids, they come in, and when they conjunct such a big, heavy hitting planet like Saturn, and they come together with it, it's something happens when it comes to like the elderly or somebody in the entertainment field, somebody that's a leader. We could see more leaders passing away, okay? So that's something to pay attention to there. Another thing too, also, that this asteroid of rest in peace, it is challenging. It's in a challenging square with Pholus in Capricorn. And like I mentioned, Aries and Capricorn and Libra and Cancer, they're all challenging each other and they're all opposing each other. So they're all having some sort of conflict in some sort of way when the moon is in Libra. Okay. And so hopefully by maybe tomorrow night, it will go away, and then it's going to enter Scorpio. So there will still be a little bit more drama with Scorpio, because it's in its fall position anyway. But that's another podcast there. But this asteroid here, rest in peace, it is challenging businesses right now, okay, and full is in Capricorn. And so it's important to pay attention to your business, as it's in the 11th house of community. Okay. So the 11th house of community is we participate. I did say I was not going to do a whole full hour, and I'm already going on an hour. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it's in the 11th house of we participate. So it has anything to do with your community, your friends, circles, groups, associations, clubs, organizations. It has a lot to do with social media. Okay. It has to do with truth. And that is where Pholus is when it comes to business, when it comes to Capricorn, okay? And is having a challenge with Saturn in Aries and strategy, the Palace Athena, which is strategy of how you strategize, and the rest in peace in Aries, okay? I wouldn't worry too much about it, but do be aware. You know what I mean? It's not really right now a time to take risky challenges. If you do something, just be quiet about it. Don't say I'm going to be here or I'm going to, just for the fact that, we see everything happening around the world. And then we have the FIFA, right? And then, like Iran coming over here and playing, and then they didn't want them, but they were good sports about it. They were thankful and they were grateful, and they say, thank you for having us here, and so forth. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I personally, I don't, I haven't voiced my opinion as far as, is the United States being racist against Iran, like not letting them play, and but it's not their fault. They're athletes, right? But we know they are run by big corporations and big leaders in Iran. But they're not going to go out and blow buildings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? They're athletes and they came here to play. They were thankful and they were grateful for having them play here. And they're going to go back to Mexico where the Mexican people are waiting for them, and they get along very well with Mexico. So, you know, um, I think it's a good thing that, they were thankful and they were grateful. And, I don't have nothing bad to say about them. They came to play, and, they seemed like good sports, and they were grateful. A lot of people did not like it that they came over here. So that brought a little bit of drama, like, why are we letting them in? Like, we know better. Like, who let them play over here? And so, it can get very dramatic when it comes to social media, which is the 11th house, right? Which can end business, full is in Capricorn. But it's not really so big. It's not really like a big thing, like it's going to end there. But there's some sort of challenge when it comes to these leaders, Saturn and Aries. It could be leaders from our country, or it could be leaders from Iran, where it's bringing this challenge here when it comes to these circles and these groups, and so forth. But nothing dangerous that I could say about the FIFA or nothing like that. They acted with courteous manner, and, I think they left already. I'm not sure if they left but they were grateful, right? So it ended in good terms, so that's the good thing about the FIFA is about, coming together and celebrating and so forth. But there is still a lot of drama going around, about countries and so forth, with the FIFA, right? Especially like Cristiano Ronaldo, he was crying. I was like, why is he crying? I had to like search why. And I think he didn't want to lose, He did not want to, he wants to win this year. So it looks kind of iffy. Like, it looks kind of like, ugh, like, I don't know. Is he gonna get his trophy or not? Or, you know, and he was in tears, He was in tears, and they did get that goal, I think it was like a tie, 1-1. But, it's interesting what's going to happen with Portugal. Very interesting because, he's always winning. And I guess maybe he doesn't want people to like compare him with Messi, because what they're talking about Messi, they're saying good things about Messi, and Argentina's doing good, and he's just right now there's this competition between him and Messi. He doesn't want to be seen as somebody that's like a failure and stuff. And he's an ox. Okay, he's an ox. So this is a favorable year this year for oxes. Next year, no. Not so much. But this year, this is ox year. This is the last year for ox to stand up and be that leader and be determined and win, so that next year they could take a break, right? They could take a break, go on vacation, and not get so involved in politics or whatever it is, or business, or they could work under, behind the scenes, And so, yeah. So anyway, this is what we have here for the astro weather. I just wanted to, do the podcast and just talk a little bit about what the moon in Libra is doing. Right now it's definitely not getting along with Saturn, which rules men and billionaires and business. And then, that Saturn is not getting along with Foles. That's making a square with businesses as well. And it pertains to communities, it pertains to groups and circles and so forth. And so that's what's going on there. Okay. So, I just wanted to just talk a little bit about it. So, if you did like the podcast, do share, do subscribe, tell your friends and family. And I'm going to be doing a podcast every single day for 21 days. I'm doing this, this challenge on myself. And hopefully it'll last longer than 21 days. But, it could be a little bit difficult because there's other responsibilities that I do have, but um, I'll do them shorter, and just pump them out there and just put some little information out there. I didn't put so much information right now. It is late night, and but I am feeling so much better. And I think if you are feeling anxiety, if you have anxiety problems, or you're thinking too much or anything like that, it has to do with the moon. Okay, the moon dictates our thoughts and how we feel. And when it's in Libra, right now 17 degrees of Leo, ruled by the sun, right? And where we have the sun, it just entered Cancer season, okay? And it's at 1 degree of Aries right now. So we might not be sleepy, okay? And right now I'm not sleeping. I don't know if it's because the pill that I took and now I'm like all energetic, but I have my feet grounded in my mat. So hopefully, I will go to sleep because it can knock you out as well. The grounding mat, it will make you sleepy. Because that means it's working your body, is regulating your body, and is balancing your body. So that is what we have right now. So if you, like I mentioned, if you did like it, do share, do subscribe, tell your friends and family, because we are growing the channel here, and it's very important that I podcast the energy so people can understand why they are feeling this way. Like if I did not know astrology, I would have no clue why I'm feeling out of sorts. And I was born with the moon in Libra, okay? I have a lot of Libra. Well, not a lot. I have a stellium in Libra, but it's affecting my Pluto. Well, not right now, but it was earlier. And I think you know why that's happening, because it's conjuncting my Uranus right now. That's why. So it's conjuncting my Uranus. Uranus has to do with the brain, okay? But I'm glad that I took my 5-HTP because it knocked it out, you know? It knocked it out. And now I'm feeling more restful. I'm feeling balanced. I'm feeling calm. Hey, it's better than smoking weed, right? I don't smoke weed. So some people might smoke weed to calm down. You know, I take 5-HTP. Or I use my grounding mat. Or I will use my fitness plate that shakes all my body, including my head. Can you believe that? It even shakes your head. That is so crazy. So anyway, hope you guys are having a great night, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Good night.